Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our first session on problem solving. Just want to say this is the first of a series of slides, or first of a series of training that we're going to do. And you can see that the whole concept is about improving people, improving processes, and developing people through the practice of problem solving. What we're going to do is for each of these sessions, we'll tackle one of the steps or two of the steps as we go through it. And as you can see, as we go through each of these steps, we're going to talk about the steps, and we're also going to give some examples, and we're going to apply some of the use of seven QC tools, very simple tools, nothing complex. But at the end of this whole process is to show you the practice, and this is be learned by doing. One of the key points I like to encourage every one of you as you go through this process is take a problem. I want you guys to look at a problem that you're facing right now, and let's work through it. Let's work through it, and once again, email me your problem, give me a background statement, and then as we work through every day, every one of these sessions, we can apply some of this so that you learn and you also develop and you also grow from this whole experience. So please take a problem that you're facing right now, and let's apply this whole process of learning. The why for this course came about looking at all these, the two systems, and coming up with what do we do best. And at Toyota, as I described to you before, Toyota is kind of, they have a lot of practices. It's part of their life, part of their culture. Remember, this company has been there for 70 years, and they've been promoting some of these practices throughout. And Jeffrey Liker was great in trying to work through and do some research into what lean leadership is in the Toyota way. And there's a book out there with Jeffrey Liker and George, and they're working through this whole model of committing to self-development, coaching and developing others, supporting the daily Kaizen, and creating the vision and aligning goals, all based on the true North values. But you can see connecting all of these sections is the PDCA method, a very simple PDCA method of what this 8-step problem solving is based on. And what it means is every leader at every level in the Toyota way is engaged in this problem solving. All right? So that is what this whole process is. So here is a map. Here's a map, and I just hope it's not confusing, but work with me. So it begins with the Toyota way. We have the continuous improvement and respect for people, and then below it are all the challenge, the Kaizen, the Genji Genbutsu, the respect and teamwork, right? So from there, they had the Toyota production system. Remember, the Toyota production system was their first ideal state, but then the Toyota way came about to make sure that we drive these core values. And then that drove into the whole Toyota business practice of problem solving. As we began the whole journey of problem solving, this is the drive and dedication, the motivational things I talked about. And here is your PDCA that you're going to do. And this drive and dedication is going to be behind the motivating factor, behind your planning, your doing, your checking, and your acting. And within each of those components, you look at planning, there's 5 steps. So planning is very important. And then you see your countermeasures through, and then you check, you evaluate both results and process, and then you act, standardize your successful processes. This is the business practice of the 8 steps of problem solving. But they're not a singular piece that is by itself. It is a connected piece, but it's also connected to everything else in that whole journey. All right. Now I don't think you can see, and this is all then translated into the A3 problem solving and writing. This is with regards to Peter's question. How is this A3 thinking? Here's the A3 thinking. It's actually A3 writing, and then I'll show you the next slide. And then the process is repeated. It goes to work on the next target within that whole problem that you just broke down. And remember, the next few sessions, we're going to go through each of these steps. All right. So the next week, we'll go over clarifying the problem and breaking it down. The following week, we'll do target setting and root cause analysis. And then we'll go down every session. We'll break down each of these components in details and then apply it to a couple of examples out there, all right? Successful examples. All right, so I wanted to show you the connection of this whole standard problem-solving practice and flow. And Dennis, in line with your question, you can see that there is a flow to this, right? There's a flow to all these process steps. It's not manufacturing, but it's a practice. And there's a practice, there's a flow, right? And the flow of process steps. Here's the A3 thinking and problem-solving writing. So this is what we train everybody in Toyota to write their problem-solving into this A3 format, 11 by 17. Part of our course, part of our system, I'll have this template available so that everybody can use it and go through. You can see it begins with clarifying the problem. Here's the background of the problem, you know, what the background was, a little story. Here's clarifying the problem. It's part of the P, right, Dennis? We talked about this. Then breaking down the problem is also part of the P. And target setting. So this target setting is your first target. When you break down the problem, I'll show you there'll be multiple different problems that you break it down to. And the first target, you'll be working on your first target that you're going to focus on. And then when you come back, you focus on the second. Here's your root cause analysis. Here's your developing your countermeasure. And then you see your countermeasures through, which is the do. And then you have your confirming result and process, which is your control or check. And then you standardize, which is your adjust and act. And at the end of this, I put down a little column called reflection. You know, what did you learn? How did you develop through this whole process of problem solving? And what are your reflection points? Right? So this is the A3 problem solving thinking that's out there, but in a very simplified format. Right? So coming back, this is where this sheet belongs to. So you're taking the PDCA and putting it into a little story. This is one page. Everything can be there. And then after that, you go to your next step. Make sense, guys? Any questions on this one? Taiichi Ono talked about this in very simple terms. No one has more trouble than the person who claims to have no trouble. Having no problems is the biggest problem of all. We all have problems. Problems are good. Problems drive improvement. So, how does Toyota define the problem? Remember this formula. This is a very simple formula. There is creative tension. I talked to George about this. There's creative tension between the ideal situation and the current situation. Imagine a spring. When you pull the spring, there is creative tension between the ideal state, you know, when it's all nice in spring. When you pull it, there is a creative tension. So there's creative tension between the ideal situation and the current situation, and that drives the gap. The gap is your big, vague problem, you know, and from that vague problem, where do we go next? So this is the key formula of Toyota's definition of problem. And then from here, we break it down. So I talked about this portion here, the current situation and the acceptable current ideal situation. So that's an event type problem. We also have at a senior level, sometimes we have, you know, our sales went down, or the matrix, for example, is not the matrix, the equivalent is the vibe, the GM vibe. We're not selling enough of the matrix. And why? So, or, you know, that becomes an event problem. Or if you're working really well, you know, how do we challenge ourselves? So at Toyota, we are hitting takt time, you know, to make a Corolla is 56 seconds. Every 56 seconds, a Corolla comes off the line. The takt time is 56 seconds, and the cycle time is within 56 seconds. So now we're shaving it off by 1 more second. So that is a normal status of 56 seconds. What is our ideal situation is now to bring it down by 1 second, shaving out 1 second, and that creates a problem. That creates a gap. So how do we get that 1 extra second by removing some more weights? Right? So there's 2 types of problems, an event type problem and a setting type problem at Toyota, and that's how we define it. Very simple, right? Event and setting. How do you challenge yourself to move to the next level?